26 years, Field of Screams Montana has been terrifying and delighting guests, growing from a single corn maze into a full-scale haunted attraction. This year, they received the Haunted Attraction Association's Legacy Haunt Award, recognizing over 2 decades of scares. But what's the story behind this family-run haunt? That is coming up on today's show. Welcome to the show. I'm Philip, and on the Haunted Attraction Network, we bring you the news and information you need to prepare for Halloween. This podcast is just one part of what we do. Our best coverage lies in our free weekly newsletter, so check the link in our show notes to stay connected. Today, I'm sitting down with the Kirkland family, the creators of Field of Screams Montana in Victor, Montana. From humble beginnings as a seasonal corn maze, this haunt has grown into a regional Halloween staple, featuring terrifying nighttime experiences, immersive sets, and family-friendly daytime activities. We'll dive into their journey, how they've kept it evolving, and what it means to be recognized as a legacy haunt. And just a note here, this conversation is mostly unedited, so it's a free-flowing discussion that gives you an authentic look at the people behind the scares. So grab your popcorn, or maybe something stronger, and let's get into it. Here we go in 3, 2, 1.
And so we opened up, and when we were opened, it was the year of 2000, and it was the huge forest fires. And they were sending people from, Australia over, just because it was so big. And so people, when we told them, we're going to start a corn maze, and they're like, nobody's going to pay any money to walk through a cornfield. And so when we started, there was smoke everywhere. We had to wear masks to go outside. And we opened, and nobody really came. And it was a little bit of a difficult time. And then, I don't know, in October-ish, beginning of October, we had some people come up and guests, and they were like, you should haunt this. And we're like, what?
Get some chainsaw guys out there, and we're like, okay, we never really thought about that.
Yep.
But then we did it. We put it together in like 4 days. Really basic stuff like plastic, 2x4s. Super, just very inexpensive stuff. Yeah. Low budget, of course. And it just took off from there. Like, we did so well in those few weeks that we're like, okay, we're going to need to do this like every year.
Yeah, people were so happy.
Yeah.
They loved it.
I think that's interesting, because I think the typical story is that the haunters are the ones that kind of initiate it. I just think it's interesting that it's like it came from feedback you were getting actively, which is good. That's
right.
I think maybe sometimes haunters like do things that like they're like people don't actually want. They want it, but the public doesn't necessarily. So I think that's an interesting angle, and I'm wondering how you approached it. Were you just like, oh, let's just if someone comes to you and they're like, add a haunted portion to it, and you're not a haunter,
right?
Did you even know about any of that?
We had no idea. We don't really even watch many scary movies. Go figure. And so I was talking to my sister, and her husband really liked Halloween. They love dressing up. And then he's like, I got a couple ideas. And so seriously, in 3 to 4 days, there was 4 of us, and we just put things together.
And mind you that before this, the field was like 8 acres, and it's a maze, and so you can get lost in certain areas,
Yeah.
And so we had to set it up in a maze, which is very difficult, because if people don't follow the exact path and they skip, which towards the end there was pathways everywhere. It was a complete disaster. People would go in and they'd be out in like 5 minutes. They're like, "Oh, did you see this?" No, like, where was that? Like, people were missing everything because there was just like pathways everywhere. And so, a few years later, we decided, okay, we're going to have to figure this out. It's not working in a maze. Like, it's fun. And if you follow the rules and follow the path, you're good. But anyway.
Yeah, it was another part of being really scared. They're like, what if we don't make it out? I'm like, oh, good. I need props for next year, so thank you.
And one thing to add too is we're doing all of this. There's no power on the property.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's
barely a sign out front. It says the maze. It's like kind of telling what it is. And so we're operating from like a little tiny 1,500 watt generator that somebody loaned us. Yeah. Just to run a light or two.
Yep.
So.
Well, you just think about those things.
Old times. Things were difficult back in the old days.
Yeah. I said there was no social media. We were back. We were like, what's going on? How, So in the beginning, how did people find out about it, or how did you? I guess it was word of mouth then. I mean, you started doing spooky thing in the corn maze, and people loved it so much because of the authenticity. It sounds like you could literally get lost in this place, and it was dark because,
there was no lights.
There's no lights. I mean, it's always
Yeah.
that's always a thing because corn mazes don't have power. I mean, that's it. So it's it's always an issue. But do you think that's what happened? It was like word of mouth that just kind of extended it.
It was huge word of mouth.
Yeah.
And luckily we were on the highway, the main highway. There's only one highway going to Missoula.
Highway
and-
93.
Highway
That's where
93.
we're at. And
So luckily people would see the sign and then they start asking their neighbors, what's that? What does that mean? And they could see corn growing. And believe it or not, there wasn't corn growing in the valley at
Yeah.
all. Like people didn't grow corn. I had farmers say, oh, you can't grow corn in this area. I'm like, well, we're going to try. So that was kind of a new thing now. And believe it or not, now there's a lot of corn everywhere. So
You're experimenting with Halloween. It's a new thing to add scares to this. So then where did you go from there? You started out with just the corn.
okay, so
And this was still 2001 was first spooky?
no, 2000. That same
2000.
year, we actually
Okay.
in that same first year, beginning being evacuated with the fires and
Yeah.
that whole traumatic everything. Yeah, first year, and made it haunted.
Okay,
And
so then
then-
where do we go from there? Which is
and-
still, this is all still pre like social media. This is still, it was a different
Yeah.
world. Cell phones were like barely a thing. It was a whole, you really could just get lost in the corn.
Yeah, it was. People did get lost. We had corn cops that were trying to find them, find people. They're like, wait, they've been out there for a while. Are they okay? I don't know. We'll go find out.
and I think starting it, getting more into it, we started to, research in
Yep.
libraries.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's right.
Yeah,
because there
remember
wasn't
books?
like YouTube. I mean, there wasn't like, how did you find out even how to? Yeah, that's.
There
a
was
good
no
point.
internet back then. And so we finally found magazines that were haunted magazines. We read those and people made books. I think I
Blockbuster
read a book by
videos.
Leonard Pickle or I don't know, somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how to haunt. And so it was a lot of things like that. Like, okay, how do we do this? And trying to get contacted with other people and, what do you do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So walk me through the first few years of the evolution. So we started there. We had this first experiment. It's going to work. So now what do you do?
Yeah. So we were actually excited because it was such people just
A crowd
loved
pleaser,
it.
yeah.
Yeah. And so, just a lot of studying and researching. And so then the next year we started obviously a lot earlier, not as early as we do now, but we did start a lot earlier and just started, actually building because we are builders. I mean,
Yep.
in Montana to survive, you have to have like 2 or 3 jobs. And so really just building and just understanding and learning from actually the guests also what they wanted.
And we discovered Morris Costumes, the big, thick,
Yeah.
2-inch Sears catalog.
Yeah.
That was an eye opener. We're like, cool, we can get masks now, and they were wholesale. So
Yeah.
that was a big one for us too, is seeing. And then they even sold stuff from like Scare Factory, clear up thousands
Yep.
of dollars, which we couldn't afford at the time. but-
Right.
Did you have costumes in the first few years? I mean, it was a corn maze, right? So you didn't necessarily need.
It was just black.
Black
Yeah.
It was just a black.
Just the black capes,
The black capes. That was
This
it.
like takes
And a
me
mask.
back, but yeah, 100%. Yeah.
And then we had lots of black
And that worked.
plastic.
It worked.
Yeah,
back
it worked
then.
for the time,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, it worked for the
Yes.
time.
Yeah.
So then, I guess, what do you think is your next milestone?
We actually, the big one is in 2005, we actually opened a family fun center. We added onto it. We actually we bought some land, just a half a mile,
away.
just a half mile north, and we built this huge, go-kart, game room, bumper cars.
So full FEC then.
Full,
Yeah,
with
FEC,
3
yeah.
haunted attractions, because now we
Yeah.
were like, okay, people know us,
Okay.
boom. And we did that. So that was 2005, which bad timing awards because 2006, 2007,
Yep,
boom,
financial
economy
crisis, yeah.
just went. So we had that until 2009, and then we didn't ever stop because Quinn was still farming, and so we went back to our original Field of Screams, MT, went back to that, and just kept haunting. We have never missed a year, even with COVID, moving, fires, anything like that. We've had it consecutive for, this is our 26th year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So you went to the FEC and then kind of back to.
Yeah.
And when you said you had 3 haunts when you had the FEC, did you put the haunts at the FEC or did you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
So
they
we,
were there.
like I said, we had catalogs that had
Yep.
like classifieds. We found 2 haunted houses that were actually from St. Louis, and they were in trailers.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we got those out here eventually, and we put those together. You know, they didn't have a roof over them, so we had to cover them with tarp. You know, and rain was an issue, of course, and so we did that. And people loved it because there was a lot of animatronics in it, and some of that stuff's still floating around.
Yeah, we got this one, and it was just a pitch black maze. I mean, totally black. And people would come in, and they would go a little ways. They would get so scared, they would come back out just crying. And then some people that actually did make it through, they would come out just breathing really heavy, and they thought, oh my gosh, how many employees do you have in there? That was so scary. And I'm like, one.
Yeah, one.
We had one employee in this
Yeah.
huge, like 20 by 20 foot area. And so then we finally took it down because I think I needed to have like some kind of psychologist or somebody at the end because they were so traumatized.
It was great.
Yeah. The blackout mazes are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit. I think this is one of the trends that's interesting about it, is we already talked a little bit, is like how the tactics have changed. Because, you know,
Yeah.
blackouts, I think they used to be very popular and used to work. And I'm not sure, I don't know if they still do or not. I don't know. I mean, to me, I'm so far removed now, so I can't tell, you know, but like the fog outs and all those. And then obviously, you know, you used to be able to just put an actor in black makeup, but now with, you know, cosplay and conventions, you know, people have access to immortal masks, just
Right.
regular people, you know, that could show up. So have you adapted the tactics, or have you not really needed to because of your location and because it's a corn maze and the corn is still like, you know, the central character, I guess, in a way?
We've advanced.
Yes.
We've well advanced.
Yes, we
Yeah.
definitely
Yeah. So tell me
have.
about that and how you kind of over the years.
And actually, okay, so our son, Ethan, he's 15 now, and he has
so
been...
he came in 11 years into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like 7.
Yeah.
Well, actually, he was like 6 when we
Okay.
started. I mean, he's family. He can work.
He
And
slept many nights on the floor. And
Yeah.
But so was that after the FEC then that Ethan
Yeah.
came in? Okay.
Yep.
So that you'd already had that whole adventure. So well
Yes.
into the haunted house space. So you were at that point. You were like, "This is what we're doing with our
Yeah.
lives. Is this?
Yes.
This is.
this is one of the many jobs that we have. Is the yeah.
Yes.
And so Ethan, actually, with that last question, he brought in so much because these young minds are just like
Yeah.
really just thinking, and they see things differently, and they have all, you know, they don't have to go to the library, they have it all on their phone.
Yeah, it's shaped so much by media too. Like how you view the attraction through your screen, through your phone, is really changes it. The marketing, the awareness. Yeah.
Yeah, and so he's really brought in a lot. Like, what types of things have you done and brought in?
Well, I mean, like you said with the masks, like, when we went to Transworld in 2021, my first year, I was like, oh my gosh, look at all these silicone masks, they're amazing. It's like, because we don't do makeup at our attraction, because, I mean, it's cold, and yeah, like, everyone around our area knows everybody. So if you're wearing makeup, they're just like, hey, I know you. So we don't do makeup, but when we brought, like, Immortal Mask, CFX, it just was amazing. So I brought those types of things, and I saved my money the next years for Transworld. Like,
Yeah.
I bought all these amazing animatronics from, like, Hallucinations, Poison Prop, Scare Factory. So I was, like, buying the bigger stuff for them to make the scare even better. So that's what I was doing.
Yeah, he was really taking the next step. We're like, whoa, that's kind of intense and scary. And
Yeah.
and then when we saw it and the people, I mean, seriously, when the jaw drops, I mean, that is what we saw. And people were like, you guys are doing so awesome. Oh my gosh. And I'm like, thank you, Ethan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now, I mean, where you are now, can you describe where you are now with the attraction? So obviously now you're using masks and you're using animatronics, so you fixed the power issue at some point over 26 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So where are you now? Can you paint the picture for us now, the current day, what your venue looks like?
Okay, so now it went from like 4 scare actors
Yeah.
to like 50.
Okay.
You know,
Plus.
and it's plus you have more on staff, of course, than that, and that's been a challenge as well.
See now,
But,
50 employees like does not seem like a lot from like all
Yeah.
these, St. Louis, because they have like 200, 300.
But for the area, I think it's a lot,
it's
right?
so many
yeah.
employees for our area.
Yeah, for our, yeah, it's a lot. Yeah.
And so with that, we've taken it to. We've been to Transworld for quite a few years, and
We love Transworld.
we're pretty
Oh
much
my
aware
gosh.
of everything going on and the trends, and so we're trying to keep up with that and bring that to Montana and to just show people, like, even though this is a small operation, it's still, we could compete, you know.
Yeah.
We've been to all the haunt tours and stuff, bus tours all the
Those are
time.
awesome
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
And we love them. We think they're great,
Yeah.
but
You get little tidbits. So you
Yeah.
get little morsels from these different haunts, and then you kind of just go, I'll take a little piece of that and a little piece of this, and I'll morph it together and make this for our area. But yeah, going from plastic and just black capes, now getting the really nice masks.
Yep.
The detail
Costumes.
and yeah, the costumes are just layers and layers deep with different props, and I mean, and then the different shoes. It's not just wear your white tennis shoes. You're
Yeah,
you're really
yeah.
getting every little detail
That part
and
is-
going at it, and then doing the eyes, and then just the buildings. The buildings are like getting bigger. Even though we have a cornfield, we add all these different spots to make it so you don't have just the cornfield. So we have a lot of that going on.
there's lots of rooms.
Yes,
Yeah, so-
Like, there's a ton of rooms.
So so do you still have daytime activities?
do,
Yes, you have it.
actually,
And then
yes.
at nighttime, it's a linear experience, but you have buildings. So
Yes.
it's
Oh, yeah.
broken up by the nature of it. So effectively, you're still going through the corn,
Yes.
but you have physical buildings that break up the scenes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We actually offer a lot of different types of attractions for
Yep.
pretty much everyone. So we have this thing called Zombie Free Mondays, and it's only on Mondays, so there's no like actors, but you have the audio, the fog, the lights, and all those types of things, and it's at night. So it's for the scaredy cats. So we offer like pretty much everything for everybody. That just amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's
Yeah.
unique. A lot of parents, like people our age, are like, have you been to the maze? I've been to the corn maze yet? And oh no, my kids are grown up. We don't. No,
Yeah.
it's for us. It's for people our
Yeah.
age.
Yeah.
It's for everybody. Whether you want to be scared or just walk through, like, we totally recommend the Zombie Free, because it's awesome. It's fun to come and see all the props at night. You can actually take your time.
Yep.
Yeah.
And see all the detail and
And people really like to
We
see
have
all
big-
the detail. They just
big.
love
We have
that.
sound in every area. I mean, we put. You should see the audio stuff we have. It's all the old. What do you call those? The receivers, just piles of them in dry areas,
Yeah.
and and subwoofers and lights. And
Oh, and then
fog
the other
and-
new things are the scents. So you're really
yeah.
going through all the senses,
Yep.
That's a whole new thing that was added. I just love, coming to Transworld and the bus tour and being able to talk with Ha and just learning all these little details from everybody. It is amazing and beautiful.
And it sounds like those structures stay up year round, and then you
Yes.
just kind of like move any of the stuff into them to make sure stuff is protected, right? 'Cause,
Yeah.
weather can.
Yeah, 'cause,
can degrade
weather's
items.
a
Yeah.
huge
It's a
part.
big, and making sure the guests can still walk on the path and clearing that up. and everything.
Yes.
We change out structures about every 5 years.
Okay.
Sometimes sooner. This year we're doing a whole nother makeover on it.
Yes, we got some new things coming
We're even
this
adding more
year.
power, a whole nother 400 amp service just throughout the whole field, just so there's air compressors and stuff everywhere.
And it goes through different themes, right? Or as in like, it's not all the same theme. Like you're going through, like, I think there's a mine shaft, the clown area. Right? You're going through these different spaces, so you kind of are trying to. It's that awkward position, I think, that you're in, because it's like, it sounds like, maybe this is wrong, but it sounds like you are needing to almost be back to having an FEC in a way, because the local area is so small. It's like you're not this sounds a weird way, but it's like you're not Disney World, right? So people are not like, we're going to fly over from, so you're drawing from where people are reasonably going to drive from. And so in order to do that, you need to appeal to the mass, which is like an FEC, appealing to the mass market, which is why you need to have adult-friendly options, and you need to have multiple themes, as opposed to like, we're only going to do like corn stalkers. And so if you only do that one thing, it's like, well, I don't care about that. So it's like you're trying to incorporate, which is a weird line, I think, to have to walk, because there's many people that say, if you're everything, then you're nothing to someone. If you're everything, then it's too wide of a net, basically. Right. But it sounds like it's working because of your legacy and what you have in the local community, and because also, it's like one of the only things in the area, and so daytime, nighttime, multiple themes, and then generations, multiple generations of families coming and bringing their families.
Yes. Well, you wrapped that up really well.
That's
nice job.
You just said it all.
Okay,
right
good.
there.
We're done. All right, everyone. Wrap
scene.
up. Let's go.
Microphone drop. That's actually really, I loved how you put that. Because we have the daytime, and we really want to have families and young kids come. And so we do have, okay, stop here. If you're too scared already, you can exit now, but you've seen a lot of stuff. Or you can take this path and not see any of that and go to our little mini maze. You can do the hay wagon ride, the pumpkin patch. And then we have the Monday Zombie Free
Mondays,
and then, but we actually, so people around here, they're like, oh, if you drive far, well, far from Montana is like, oh, you can drive 2 hours easy, no problem. That's like, bloop, a little jaunt, And so, but for Montana, you drive 5-6 hours, you're like, okay. So we have to pull. So we get people from, Washington, Idaho, all over in Montana.
Yep.
We actually have people fly in from like New York and New Jersey and Hawaii, just because they're all, we have heard about you guys. And that just sounds so good. We're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, the only reason I wanted to harp on it isn't because, it's more because I think you hear in the industry, I'm sure you guys have heard this, you hear a lot about, there's a lot of people that think that you need to really become, really hone in on one thing, like a coherent theme or a narrative or this or that, or hone in on a specific attraction or a specific thing. And I do generally agree with that, except in situations like this, where like you are, there's so, you need, in order for it to be viable, you have to pull enormous amount of the market. And there's no way to pull that much of the market if you are just doing a single haunt that is, one theme. It's not going to work because it works in a larger city where you have a lot of built up tourist attractions and you're competing against 100 other people plus Netflix. So you're like, okay, we're this niche immersive theater thing in this thing. And, that makes more sense. But when you're in a market like this, so I just, that's the only reason I harp on it, because I think it's important to be like, it's not always the right move. I think it depends on the market that you're in.
Yeah, that's true.
Makes sense.
Yeah, because I know they've said you need to have one theme, and then the next year you can change that theme,
correct,
and it's going to be all zombies, and then it's going to be, we cannot do that exactly for that, and so we have a little bit of just everything.
And I don't think it's
and
needed
so it just
again.
Feeds.
Because again, that's the other thing. You guys know because you go to them, but your customers probably don't go to any other haunted houses. Honestly,
we're the only haunted house in Montana. Like we're the only commercial haunted house. I mean, you might see like shows like in front of houses. We're literally the only haunted house in Montana, and it's empty there.
Yeah, and that's the
tried,
thing. Yeah. Like it's like they might be going to Disney World or Disneyland or something for their family vacations at some point, right? And they see the haunted mansion, but they're not necessarily traveling. It's like the problem with being in Chicago is that, people are going to Hell's Gate. They're going to all of the Chicagoland attractions. and then they had that as reference points.
Yeah.
But your market has like nothing as a reference point except for other FECs. And so in a way, you kind of have to make it seem like that because you're like, oh, it's just like Chuck E. Cheese, but there's corn and, this.
Yeah. This is the destination.
Yeah, you really have to like, meet the audience, I think, where they are in those
Yeah.
cases. And train them over
Yeah.
decades, which is what you guys sounds like you've done.
Yeah. Yeah.
One thing that we picked up on from doing these haunt tours is, I think it was Disturbia we went to.
Yeah, that was the name that was escaping me. I was like, well, the other
Yeah.
Chicago haunts, yes.
Yeah, that one.
And other Chicago haunts.
Another one, sorry.
It's like, oh,
But
shit.
we showed up there, and it's like our first time doing a bus tour, I think. And we got off the bus, and they're just music blasting, like,
Yep.
like
Oh, yes.
pop music. And we're like,
Yeah.
what isn't it supposed to be like haunted,
Yeah.
scary music? It's daytime, of course,
Yeah.
and then the music's all mixed up. It's like DJ music.
Yep.
I think it was Psych Jam doing
Yep.
it, and we're like, this is cool. Like, we need to do something like this. This is brand new. Because we used to just play kind of haunted music, and people are just like, when you're waiting in line 2 hours, it just kind of gets boring. And so we did that. We hired him, and he did some mixes
Yep.
for us, and it made it unique. And then we added the actors.
Oh, the
we didn't know anything
entertainers?
about entertainers before.
Yep.
We're like, we're not going to waste our actors in the lines. Like, we need them in the haunt.
Yep.
But we added stilts and fancy masks, and
Yeah, our
it
eyes
worked
were
out
open.
great.
Yeah, it was just like, wow.
It just helps.
Like you said, we have definitely had bands.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, your job is to entertain, especially in that case. It's not necessarily to scare people. I think that's a
Yeah,
common
that's
misconception.
that's the big thing. Is some people come out and say, "I wasn't scared." I'm like,
That's not our
were
job.
You entertained? Like,
Yeah.
if you don't
Yeah.
get scared, that's fine. Like, our real job is to entertain, and that's what people want, and to see
that
the eye
has
candy.
been- Yeah, and that
It's-
has
it's
been the
huge.
big, huge morph from way back when.
Yep.
Of it's not more of, oh my gosh, my heart, I can't even breathe anymore, and I peed my pants, and it's like you get a little bit of that, but then wow, and the detail and looking around, and just like that was just epic. Like there was so much out there that I need to go through again. Yeah.
The one thing I want to touch on, because it has come up as a trend over and over, which is staffing. And I know that you mentioned 50, which is a lot for that. I can imagine that's a lot for the area.
It is.
How has your approach to staffing changed? It sounded like you almost, it seemed like you brought in entertainers that you were like contracted out to, but I don't know if that's true. But like, how do you like manage the staffing? How do you do your retention? Do you have like same people come back, and how does all that work for you guys?
Actually, we have so many haunters that have come back for years. I'm talking some of them for 15, 18 years already.
Well, because what else, if you like it, what else are you going to do?
Oh yeah, right.
And
Where
it's
else
been
do you
awesome.
go?
Yeah, and they have been so like valuable, and it's great because then you can like feed off of them and go, okay, what are people wanting? What do you want? What do you see? And so that really helps. But yeah, it's hard. We just, when we get those people, then we ask them, we're like, hey, you want to bring some of your friends? What kind of friends do you know? And then you ask those friends, hey, how about your friends? Do you know other people that want to come? So it's like friends of friends of friends or family. And then, just asking around at schools, in the drama department, because we're far enough away from Missoula.
Yeah.
It's an hour away, so it is a little bit harder driving at night to drive back home to go to the college and get all those amazing, people. But we have a few that are totally hardcore dedicated, and they're awesome. And
There's
they
a
come.
handful that come from Missoula.
Yeah, for haunting,
That's wild.
So that one's a tricky one.
So it sounds like a lot of like grassroots recruitment, like you're going out and individually approaching places where you think they're going to be.
Yeah.
And then you just try and retain them
Yes.
over the years.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I would explain to him how we retain them, the voting.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So what we do is the guests, when you guys go through, the haunt, and as soon as you come out, we have this huge board. It's a dry erase board, and we have all the pictures of all the haunters, just their costumes, just
With the mask, right?
Yep,
So-
with the
yeah, so
mask.
they're
So
not-
they're all dressed up, all looking really cool. And then the guests, they go. We can only allow them to choose one person that they really, really liked, that most scared them, or was just like they were just good. And so then they get to put a tally mark by that haunter. We have another section for like the entertainers, kind of separating them out. And so at the end of the night, all the haunters, all the employees come out, they're like, oh my gosh, did I win? And they also have like a little tip jar, so if they want to give them tips. So let's say we did $40 for that night. Then I have 8 winners because I give them $5 each.
Okay.
And so whoever has the most tally marks,
That's
they're
like one of the biggest things that our haunt has. I mean, not the biggest, of course, but a lot of people go there just to do that, actually. They love just voting
Yeah.
for people and they
Yeah,
just
well,
go through again and
yeah.
again just to do that. I don't know why, but they just really love it.
yeah,
I
and
think
it's good.
it's a smaller community, right? So I think that's part of it too. I think it's
Yeah.
more like there's more likelihood you might know that person, than it is like when you are just lost in a Los Angeles area where like there's millions of people who have no idea
Yeah.
who this.
Yeah,
I
this
think
random
And one
person,
thing
yeah.
we do too is we have the actors keep their position secret, even from their families.
Yeah, they
and
don't
most
tell.
of them do it actually. They do pretty well because
Yeah.
we have their families come, and they're like, "Which one was he?"
we interrogate
or
the family.
she, or- yeah, they're like, I'm not going to tell you."
Yeah, we're like, we don't
But
say anything.
since it is a small community, it helps too because when the kids are going through or adults, they're like, "Hi, Jimmy," and like, "How did that person know my name?"
yeah,
it,
that's scary.
It really works on them a little bit too.
Do you have any questions?
I mean, I can definitely think of some.
Because I was just gonna enter into the wrap up of the like, what do you have planned for? The whole.
Yeah. Are there any trends you see that you, don't think apply to you because of your specific, haunt and
Yeah.
where you're situated?
Yeah, so basically, are there any trends that don't apply to you because you're a corn maze in Montana that people have talked about maybe this morning in the state of the industry? Insurance.
Insurance definitely applies.
Yes.
I think from what I've seen when we've done the haunt tours, and some of them are like completely just like massacre and bloody.
Yeah.
That
I say.
that
Yeah.
doesn't apply in our area. Like,
That is true.
and we kind of advertise it as because people walk through it during the day. Like that would just turn people off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It might appeal to a few people, but we don't do that. We
Well,
stay away
that's
from
that mass
and
appeal again.
It's like
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's
That's
a little
only
bit
going to appeal.
too
yeah.
much for our area. you
Yeah,
know?
we did that the very first year where we got like these plastic bags had blood in it, bodies, and people were very turned off by that. Another one is
Well, I'd say the
Oh,
Demon's
sorry.
Dominion, so the Blackout Maze.
Oh,
again.
yeah.
So they actually had it going for, their first couple of years. And then people just didn't like it, similar to Gore. They didn't like it. So then they took it away. But 4 years ago, we brought it back, and people are just, it's perfect because we want to scare them also. So we brought that back again, and people love it. So
yeah, we're slowly bringing it. Yeah,
Yeah.
making it bigger and bigger. Yeah. We also, a huge one that people do a lot is like nuns and priests. And no, we don't do anything with like religious anything. People don't appreciate that at all. So that's some of the, and then like the face painting, the makeup. I wish we could, but nope. And
People
then,
know everybody, so just doesn't
yeah,
work.
unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah, you're just trying to keep sensitive, basically, know your target market
Yeah.
effectively, and you understand there are some themes that don't work. Yeah.
And have you done any off-season events? Have you found that successful? That's something.
But because
other-
you farm during the year, right? So it makes off-season events tricky.
So actually, we have, we just built this thing called Gateway Manor. It's a haunted attraction, which I own. So it's like right here. But that's like 100 feet long, 16 feet wide, and it's just its own haunted house. So you can pay an extra, fee or something. And we are trying to do off-season events for that, but we have not yet pushed to do that yet. So
It's
Like
coming.
Christmas,
It's
I feel
in
like.
his head.
it wants to
Maybe
happen.
things are frozen at that time.
Oh, that's a good. I
Yeah.
forgot.
and
about
there could be
that.
2 foot of snow, so it's
That's true.
Yeah.
And it has
And porta
snowed during
potties are
October.
hard to get
That
too.
hurt.
We're all portable that way as well. But
I totally forgot about Yeah.
Yeah, because when 2 years ago we were shoveling the pathway because
I
of a
wouldn't
foot
say
of
shoveling. I say we were picking at like
Oh,
3-inch
that's-
ice.
It's true. It's
'Cause
true.
If you don't shovel it that night, it's just gonna be 3 inches of ice, and that
Yeah.
was awful.
Yeah, we were pitchforking it. Yeah, yeah, chunks of ice. It's a lot of work out. Anybody that's outside, it's
Yeah.
because they're like, oh, you should do this
Yeah.
or that and this animatronic and oh my gosh
Yeah.
and have this flowing. I'm like, it'll freeze.
The pneumatics will freeze, and it did happen last year. All like the pneumatics that were outside in the corn maze, the actual solenoids froze. They weren't moving; they were stuck.
Yeah.
And it was a warm year last year.
Yeah.
And
And that's why it's really hard to buy these animatronics. So that we can buy them, but it's just hard because they won't run the
Just
way
to keep
they
them
should.
going.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So that's why we have the actors. So,
yeah.
yeah.
You already answered this a little bit, thinking about off-season events, but do you have other things like long-term wish list? You know, plans, ideas. Maybe this is a question.
I know Ethan has so many.
long-term ideas. Yeah.
Well, the Gateway Manor, I want to make that much bigger and have it, because I mean, this year was the first year, so I only had it 5 minutes long, super short, had a vortex tunnel and things, but this year, definitely planning on making it 2 times bigger, looking for about 10 minutes, since we have a lot of room in that area. But, I don't know. Do you guys, because I know this year we're also going to be adding a coffin ride, where you actually go inside of a coffin and do a little ride for 2 minutes.
And he built that.
Yeah, these are things that I've been wanting to do, and it has come to life, but I don't have any on like mind that I want to do.
An elevator ride.
And then elevator and a laser.
Yeah.
And he also made the elevator ride. But we're doing, this year we are doing a Western theme. And we're going to be building all of that with
If you're
the
talking about
facades.
scenes, then I have an idea for scenes, but like attractions themselves, I don't have like
Yeah.
things at the top of my head.
Yeah.
I also wonder, though, I'm going on that. It's like, I think sometimes in areas like that, it's a little bit difficult because feasibly, how many people could you add in terms of demand? Like, what is the market size? You know, like sometimes I ask Hans, like, what would you do? How could you double your attendance? Let's just think about it. Like, how could you do it? And I think sometimes they're like, well, there's literally physically not that many people in my region.
Yeah.
And so it's like, well, if you were going to double it, you would need to become a destination people would fly to. And in lieu of that, then you would need to like franchise.
Right.
You know, I've talked to a few Canadian farms last year who were like, we're going to need to just franchise because we can't pull enough people. So in terms of that, do you think about that? Like, do you think you're heading up against the upper level maybe of your target market? And then it becomes, there's only 2 levels we have, right? We can increase attendance or we could increase per cap spending.
What we're trying to do now is, because the last 2 to 3 weekends, they're like maxed out.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
we have 3 acres of parking, and it's maxed.
Yeah.
You know, and this is in Montana. You know, you can't really park alongside of the highway. It's a little bit rough, but we're trying to get people out on Wednesdays and Thursdays, like the locals. Trying to get the locals out during the week. We try to tell them, I know it's bad business, but say, don't come on Friday, Saturday if you live here. If you live like 10 minutes away, could come during Wednesday, Thursday. It's less busy. It's just as fun, you know, because Saturday and Fridays they're packed. They're
Yeah.
busy, and
So
we
you're
just
spreading out your demand. You're trying to encourage spreading out the demand.
Yeah.
But that's not still, what about, I mean, you're still going to hit
Do you
your
do
cap.
dynamic pricing for your tickets?
Yeah.
we're trying it this year actually.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
a lot of work to set up, but we got it. We use online ticketing,
Yep.
so it's timed, and that helped a lot with the
Yep.
lines. But still, you get a lot of drive-ins,
Yep.
you know, from all over.
Yeah.
Well, especially I think that region, they may not experience dynamic pricing at any other thing
Exactly.
they go to.
No.
This is
So-
all brand new for them.
Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
almost like you're the one like Disney. You're like, okay, we got to teach you, you know, that
Yeah.
they're
Mm-hmm.
how you like tickets
That's a
are
new
more
trend we're
expensive.
trying out.
The
Yeah.
time ticketing, was something new, and they're like, "Whoa, what do you do? What?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
just scan something with my phone. What?
Yeah.
How do I?
I
do
can
that?"
honestly
Yeah.
say though, when we started time ticketing with our company we're using, I mean, sales were up like 25%.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it was crazy.
Yeah.
And another crazy thing that we do at our haunt, for when people are standing in line and waiting, to go in, we used to do, the little switchback, and it's all like, fenced off or roped off or did all of that. And there was a lot of complaints about they're cutting in line. I don't appreciate this. And, I'm like, okay, well, let me hear this because we want to try to fix it. And so what we do now, and it is amazing. I don't know. I think just Montanans are just like very respectful. So we don't have any. It's like this huge open area, and we just paint posts.
3-inch poles.
Yeah, poles.
For 20
We just paint them orange on the top and bury them halfway in the ground. So they're just kind of buried in the ground halfway.
Super safe.
And it's just flat on the ground. And there's just these little lines, and they stay in their line. They don't cut. They totally are
So-
fine with that. It's more free and open.
If there's like an emergency or anything, people can just run right out. 'cause
Yeah.
There's no fence blocking them from.
Yeah.
It's safer.
From like,
Yeah.
And we've had
danger.
like 0 complaints the last few years of
Yeah.
people cutting in line, which is really odd because there's no barriers.
Yeah.
Easier to shovel.
Either they don't notice
Oh,
it.
yes, easier,
It's like,
easier to shovel snow, yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
But-
that might be one where it's like the inverse. Again, back to the line thing. It's like, are there any other things that people even have to wait for lines in your area? So it might be that thing where you're like, if you just remove it and let them just coordinate themselves, because it's back to
Yeah.
thinking about like, do they do this for anything else in their lives?
Yeah.
And
Maybe just the fair, waiting in line for a ride. But
yeah.
Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
by removing it, then you might it's like a psychological thing where it's like now it's like, yeah, it's less, they're like, oh, we can organize ourselves. It's like empowers them to
Yeah.
control. They have
Yeah.
more control versus not, because think like, in big cities, we're conditioned. You're like, stand in line for the metro, stand in line for the Uber, stand in line for this, stand in line for, like, everywhere you go, there's a line. So
Yeah.
you're like, you're conditioned to this is how it works. But I'm just thinking, I'm like, I grew up in a rural town, and I'm like, we didn't wait for anything, and we drove everywhere, and it was like
Yeah.
45 minutes to Whole Foods, and that was the big like trip for the weekend, like that
Right.
was a thing.
Yeah. Well, actually, another thing, like this younger age group, which they're so amazing. All the, kind of what we're doing right now, all this social media
Yeah.
and getting everything out there. And Ethan, has, okay, what is yours? You have it on Facebook. What is yours?
No, YouTube.
Oh, YouTube. See,
So I have
I'm
my
on
own little
Facebook.
small YouTube channel that I've been trying to grow. It's called Horror 365.
Yep.
So I just kind of post YouTube videos, try to do it every single day of like our haunted house and behind the scenes of other haunted houses and just kind of what it's like to live in a haunter's
Yeah.
perspective.
he's showing all of our builds, everything that we're
Yeah.
building.
Yeah.
And our customers like to see that too.
Yeah.
And it's
pretty
so
exciting.
strange. We never would have thought about that in
Yeah.
the year 2000.
Yeah.
You would
Not
think,
even.
oh, you got to keep it
Yeah.
a secret. But
Well, like look what Alan and John LaFlamboy have been
Oh,
doing.
they're
I mean,
awesome.
it really, yeah. I wanted this to be a video interview, but it's okay. It's fine. It's fine. Then I would have had to edit the video, and that's a little bit, it's a little bit easier to edit audio. But
Yeah, you can't get me on there.
Yeah, yeah, and we're all tired, but yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. I think. Okay, if there's anything. We're at
Yeah, this is just
40.
basically our family really doing it, and it's
Yeah.
just and we have 4 kids, and then we just kind of build from there, and so
Yep.
it's been 26 years. And so when people say that they have people that help, like we have this manager that's over costumes, we have another manager that's over
audio
and the
marketing.
employees. Where it's us. It's
Yeah.
It's all.
here
Yeah.
it is right here.
Last year, we were lucky to hire a manager over all of the
Yes.
animatronics
Yeah.
and just keep them all going. He did great.
Yeah, because
so.
that's different too
Yeah.
than others.
So we're expanding in things like that to
We're
try to
working
help
on
us
it.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Excellent. Yeah,
But this has
definitely
been fun.
family driven. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is, I don't know. I mean, different markets again, right? But I'm sure that a lot of the attraction has been driven by the family, but that's also important because that's, again, the staffing, like, it's, you can count on that to carry it forward, I think.
Yeah.
And that's, because, haunts are not a good business. So I think sometimes
They're hard.
it's
Wow.
just not, it's like a
Yeah.
restaurant, really. And so,
it's
look at all the
difficult.
family restaurant, like it's just not, it's a difficult thing. I think you need, it's excellent. You're at the point where you need to, you can hire in other people, but
Yeah.
I think relying on your family to get you to where you are it's a strategy. Look everywhere. I mean, you see so many
Yes.
haunt families that make it because that's the only way to do it.
Yeah.
Because if it were just you two and then you had to hire every single position and year-round managers and pay for someone to come to the show floor and look at ideas and do the YouTube, it's not sustainable.
Yeah. And then it's like what you want and your mindset, and you're like, this is my vision. Trying to explain that, I'm like, wow, kudos to those that can do that. That's awesome. Yeah.
What were you gonna do if your kids didn't want to help with the haunt?
Okay, well, we do have one like that he does not like it. So he's over the food area.
Okay, so they're all involved no matter what. You're like,
Yes,
They've been
we're like,
involved whether they want to or not.
Yeah, we're like, you need to learn how to work, and this is very important.
You're
and
like,
this
when you're
is
18,
What, yes, then
when you go to college, you can leave.
Yeah, and then our daughter, she just had a baby, and so and they're at college, and the one that didn't really like the Halloween stuff, he's at college, and then we have another son, and he's severely handicapped in a wheelchair. But that's been really good to know. Okay, is this accessible? Can we do it this way? And so it really helps us that way.
Very family friendly.
Yes, yeah, we try to make it, that way. And then Ethan, our youngest one, came up, and that's all he talks, dreams, thinks. If he talks in his sleep, it's probably what he talks about. He is everything Halloween. He loves it. That's all he can think about. So
Good, you
I'm
have
so
one,
happy.
don't you?
I know, we have
Yeah.
one. We will hold on to this one.
He can carry on the tradition.
Yeah, Let's get out there. Big
Thank
tech.
you.
But we have other jobs. Like I have other jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone
And
does.
so we're so busy.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Okay, that's all the questions I have. Yeah.
That was fun.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank
Okay,
you.
officially, let's stop all these recordings.
Today's episode was edited by me, Philip Hernandez, with post-production by David Swope and original music composed by Chris Thomas. Support for today's episode comes from Gantom Lighting and Controls. Gantom illuminates attractions worldwide with the world's smallest intelligent spotlights. From Dark Hour to Netherworld, Super Mario Land to Hagrid's Bike, Gantom goes where other fixtures can't. See what you're missing with a free demo? Sign up at gantom.com/demo. That's gantom.com/demo. The HAN team includes Daryl Plunky, Emily Louise Rua, Megan Spells, Gavin Burns, and Omni Adventures. Until next time, stay scary.
This is a Haunted Attraction Network production.